First, I'd be very, and I'm sure everybody here would be keen to know your reflections on the European elections in Italy, first of all, but also because you've lived a lot of your life in recent years in France, so you'd be a keen observer of French politics. So what do you take from this?
First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I hope the micro will, yes. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here to exchange with Prime Minister Mitsotakis. I am very happy to be here also because my journey on the single market report started here last year in October. We met at your office, Kyriakos, and it was for me a very, very interesting and important beginning of the journey. Then I visited 65 cities in Europe, more than 400 meetings, ideas, testing ideas. It was really fantastic, but everything started here. On the elections, I can tell you that I'm not pessimistic for one very clear reason. I remember the European elections 5 years ago. And 5 years ago, the main terms at the center of the European electoral campaign were Brexit, Italexit, Frexit, Dexit, Nexit. That were the terms. The discussion 5 years ago was about who will be next after Brexit. And today, I think we are at the end of an electoral campaign where every party was involved in discussing how lead Europe, not how to exit from Europe.
This is the great service that my country did to Europe.
Yeah, it is exactly what I would like
inoculated you from Brexit.
To say and to thank the UK for this, because at the end of the day, Brexit was so negative for the UK and for Europe too, that today all the political parties, no matter left, right, center, they are all committed in how to be within the European Union and driving the European Union, leading the European Union in one way or another. And about France, I can tell you that I'm really very worried about the result, but I can tell you that I'm very worried about the trend. And the trend is a big difference between Paris or the big centers and the rest of the country. And that is not only France. Western democracies today are democracies where you find a big cleavage. The centers where things are happening and the peripheric areas where services of general interest are losing ground, where people are losing opportunities and that are having a vote that is different from the centers. And that was part also of my journey on the single market, because we have to be very clear in saying, and I make a link, if I may say, the single market in the European Union was considered until now too much as freedom to move. So too much considered as opportunities for those who want to move, for those who want to leave their country or those speaking more languages. And in reality, the European Union is not only for those who want to move. The European Union is for all. This is why I wanted to say the single market is not only freedom to move, it's also freedom to stay. And freedom to stay means also giving a new set of services of general interest. Hospitals, healthcare, schools, education, infrastructures, not only the centers where all the opportunities are, but in a more spread way, in the possibility to say that the future of our integration is not only with this cleavage. I can tell you that for me, discussing in a market in my country with an old man, I gave him a paper with the name Europa, and he told me it's not for me. I'm not among those who wants to take the plane. And this definition, Europe is for those taking the planes, was for me very, very much meaningful. And I started from here saying that, but Europe is not for those who want to take planes. Europe is for all, also for those who want to stay. This is why part of my report is also trying to give solution to this big cleavage. And I link it to France because I was in France when the Gilets jaunes, you remember the Gilets jaunes. The Gilets jaunes, the yellow vest, started there, and it was the periphery against Paris. And today, once again, Paris' result was totally different from the rest of the country. So I think there's an issue there, and this issue is not just France. I think UK was the same. London against Brexit, and the rest of the countryside in favor of Brexit. I think we have to consider that this is one of the main issues for our democracies.
I want to dive deeper into the report, but first just one more question on following on from the broader political fallout. Meloni and Le Pen, often comparisons drawn, but also distinctions. You have close-up view of both characters. How should we think of Le Pen in relation to Meloni?
I think Le Pen is different from Meloni, and the two are different. And I don't know what will be or what would be a Le Pen or Bardella government. By the way, Bardella has Italian origins, so it is a very strange situation there. But I don't know what will be the point. But I know that Europe needs to have all the 27 on board in the European Council. Kyriakos knows better than I do how the present European Council is working. But I have one point that is important to answer your question, Daniel, is the following one. We are discussing about the single market. The single market is the most important achievement of the European integration. The single market has an origin with one creator, Jacques Delors, the French pro-European leader in the 80s, in a strong and very strict alliance with another great leader in the European Union in the 80s. Jacques Delors was the most pro-European leader. To create the single market, he made an alliance, a successful alliance, with the most anti-European leader in Europe at that time. This alliance worked, and this most anti-European leader was Margaret Thatcher at that time. It was the alliance between Delors and Thatcher that created the single market. And the single market was the most successful tool in the European history. I say that because I think that the integration of the single market and giving the European people tools to be more competitive, giving companies tools to be more competitive, to go abroad, to be more innovative, to have jobs creation, I can tell you is not for those who are pro-European or anti-European. It's for those who want to help European people and European business. And it is today what we have to do. So my point is that the next legislature, this legislature, has to have in mind that the launch of the single market, the integration of the single market, and the elimination of what we had in the last period. I can tell you just one figure that for me is very, you know, we spent, and it was correct and it was right to do so, a lot of money to help Ukraine. We spent a lot of money to help Ukraine. Military furnitures to help Ukraine. 80% of these military furnitures were to buy non-European military furniture, were to buy non-European military furnitures and to help jobs creation out of Europe. In the same period, the US helped Ukraine. They helped Ukraine with military furniture. The same figure, the same 80% for the US is 12%. That means that 88% of what they spent was to help jobs creation in the US. I say that because the difference between a single market well working and a single market not well working, not integrated, is jobs creation here in Europe. And the integration of single market is to help jobs creation, growth, competitiveness, innovation in Europe.